Hello everyone, and welcome to Geneva Works. I'm your host Kevin Starr. Geneva is a great place to take a walk, whether it be in our historic downtown or our family-friendly neighborhoods. With safety being our top priority, the Geneva Police Department would like to review the rules of the road for both pedestrians and motorists. Today, we're joined by Police Chief Eric Passarelli to share his insight on the situation.
We're taking a very proactive approach to pedestrian safety this year. It's very important to us at all times, obviously. But Geneva is a destination city. We have nearly 22,000 residents that call Geneva home. We have outstanding business and dining and entertainment areas on the west side of town, the east side of town. Our downtown is very unique in that it's very walkable, as are our neighborhoods. What makes the downtown a little bit more unique, I think, is that at the south end of 3rd Street, we have a Metro train station, along with a large parking deck and several commuter parking lots. So we do have a large amount of traffic in that area. Each year, the city is host to numerous festivals and special events that literally draw thousands of people into this community, which is a great thing. The majority of our schools are situated within the neighborhoods within our town. Each day when school's in session, you can see the kids and their parents walking to school, the high school age kids driving themselves to school. And in addition to all of that, we have several major roadways that run through our community. Those would include Randall Road, Route 38, Fabian Parkway, Kirk Road, Route 31, and Route 25 that all carry a significant volume of traffic on a daily basis. So when you have that much traffic and you have that many pedestrians in the same spot, unfortunately there's times where there's going to be conflict. Over the last couple years, unfortunately, we've had a few pedestrian versus vehicle accidents that have really brought this conversation to the forefront again. Working with our city council and some of the aldermen, when we set our goals for this year, one of them was to make sure that those who travel through town and visit our town feel safe while they're here, that they can walk without the danger of getting hit by a car, and that they can safely traverse the community and enjoy the things that are here for everybody to enjoy. So we wanted to go into the year trying to come up with an opportunity or a way to promote pedestrian safety and make sure that both motorists and pedestrians are aware of the laws that impact them. Well, there are some very important rules to remember when you're approaching a pedestrian in a crosswalk. And it really is a two-pronged sort of approach in that the safety of pedestrians and motorists rely on both the pedestrian and the motorist. It's not the responsibility of just one. So in Illinois, when you are approaching a crosswalk, a marked crosswalk, and there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk, you are required to stop your vehicle and yield right of way to that pedestrian. One of the most common violations that we see on a daily basis when we have the opportunity to drive around our community is when a vehicle is traveling and there's a pedestrian that's entered into the crosswalk from the opposite side. At that point, you should stop and yield your vehicle because it doesn't take a great deal of time to finish traversing the crosswalk. And at times, vehicles try and kind of go through that open spot, which obviously poses a risk to the pedestrian. The other part of this is where the pedestrian has to play their role is they cannot just step out into traffic. They need to make sure that the car is at a safe distance to be able to stop. Again, that's another violation that we see when we drive around is we'll see the pedestrians either not look at the cars first before stepping into the crosswalk, and obviously that poses a severe safety risk to them. And the other thing that motorists need to be aware of is if you do have a car that's stopped in front of you, allowing a pedestrian to go through the crosswalk, it's illegal to pass that car. Obviously, a pedestrian who's there thinks that a car has stopped, poses a severe safety risk if a car is passing in the crosswalk. Kevin, there are really two noticeable differences when a pedestrian is not using a crosswalk. The big difference is that unlike when there is a marked crosswalk, the pedestrian must yield to all traffic in the roadway. If there is a marked crosswalk, obviously the vehicles have to yield. So that is one significant difference. Another difference is that if a pedestrian is crossing and there's not a marked crosswalk, they cannot cross diagonally through an intersection. Unfortunately, we had an accident involving that very same violation last year. We're working with the motorists and trying to change mindset and make sure they know to stop for pedestrians in crosswalks. And if we have pedestrians who are crossing diagonally or doing things that motorists don't expect, it definitely leads to a safety risk and could cause injury to that pedestrian. The way that we're going to enforce the rules is the Geneva Police Department always tries to and strives to educate first. We're not here to punish. That's not what our job is. Our job is to ensure the safety of the motorists and the pedestrians. So we want to make sure that everyone has a refresher basically on those things that we learned back in the rules of the road a long time ago. So it is important. So what we're doing now is we've had this opportunity to sit down and speak with you and put this information out. We're going to use the city's Twitter page and Facebook page along with newspaper media, bulletin boards within the police department, and just contacts on the street on a daily basis reminding both motorists and pedestrians what the rules of the road are. Later in the fall, what we plan to do is some enforcement details. Unfortunately, that's part of what we have to do, and what we'll do is we'll have officers monitoring crosswalks at different locations throughout the city and enforcing the law as they see violations occur. Again, those types of accidents are very unforgiving, and we want to make sure that both motorists and pedestrians are aware of the rules of the road. Well, with the school year underway, obviously the areas around our schools within our city are much busier than they were a few weeks ago. There's a great deal of activity. There's students coming and going. There's, again, parents walking their children to school. So there are some important things to remember now that school is back in session. One of the most important is that the areas around our schools are posted as school zones with a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit. That is going to be enforced by the officers that are there. That applies on school days when children are present, and that is to assure that children are not put at risk by motorists traveling too fast through the area. Most of our neighborhood streets are already 25 miles per hour, but there are some areas that a 20-mile-per-hour reduction is pretty significant compared to the normal speed limit, so definitely something we want motorists to be aware of. Also in Illinois, it's illegal to drive and text, and it's illegal to drive and be on a cell phone unless it's a hands-free device. The use of a cell phone in a school zone is illegal in totality. So those are important things to remember because, again, that is something that our officers keep an eye out for. There are distractions that, by taking your eyes off the road for just a few minutes, can be very risky to anyone who's walking or driving through the area at the time. So it's very important. Another thing that we look at is the school buses. Obviously, there's a large number of school buses around our school buildings. And by state law, if a school bus is stopped and has its stop sign out and red flashing lights activated, you need to stop if you're either approaching or are behind the school bus. This is very important to remember because you just don't know which side of the roadway the children are loading or unloading from, and sometimes they just shoot out with a false sense of security that the bus is stopped, so it's very important that motorists stop. It's not uncommon for us to receive complaints of drivers disobeying those stop signs, and the school bus drivers do report that to us, and we do follow up. And again, just to educate, we don't want anyone getting hurt, and it's very important that people follow that law. In addition, as I had mentioned earlier, the majority of our schools are situated in neighborhoods, and it's very common for us to receive speeding complaints as people are driving and in a hurry to get to school and pick up their kids at the end of the day. We fully understand how hectic things can be, but it's important that we're all good neighbors and make sure that we're following the speed limits on those streets that perhaps aren't impacted by the school speed limit, but are used regularly to get to and from school. You can find more information about the police department at the city's website at geneva.il.us. You can stop by the police department at any time. We're open 24 hours a day. The address is 20 Police Plaza. The phone number there is 630-232-4736. Also, we've started a Safety First blog, and you can find that on the website. And we will address pertinent topics in regards to our resident safety, usually on a monthly basis. So hopefully you find that information helpful.